It's my whole life has been an accident, really. As a high school kid in a small town in rural England, my height of ambition was to be a PE teacher.
Wow.
So I went off to university and did a degree in geography and physical education. Unfortunately, towards the end of my degree, I decided I didn't want to be a teacher. So what do you do with a degree in geography and physical education? The answer is obvious. You go and join the Royal Hong Kong Police Force. So I signed up for that for a 3-year contract, little exotic Asian escape whilst I thought about what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And then the plan was to return to England to do whatever I decided. And all was going well. 3 years later, I returned back in England in 1982 in the middle of a recession and the Falklands War. Jobs were not so readily easy to come by, so back out to Hong Kong. But I'd taken the precaution of applying to join the civil service, and I found out that I'd been accepted. So instead of going back to the police, I went back into the civil service. Joined a grade of civil servants that basically dealt with policy matters, essentially, so dealing with policy formulation, legislative preparation, dealing with the legislature, that kind of stuff. But also, it was a generalist grade, so you could work in any ministry and many other departments.
Okay.
And we have a rotation policy. So every 3 or 4 years you move into something different. So over the years you have all sorts of weird and wonderful experiences. And apart from being in Sydney, Australia for 4 years before coming to New York, I had 3 years in Brussels, in Belgium, in the mid-90s, which was another very interesting experience. So here I am.
How different is the Economic and Trade Office to that? How familiar? I mean, what's the differences in that? Is that just another name?
No, it's quite a big difference, actually.
Okay.
Your first and most obvious question you should be asking is, what the hell is a Brit doing sitting here representing Hong Kong?
Well, I mean, I tell you the truth. I'm clear about Brits. Brits have taken over and, claimed land all over the place and had to give it back. So that doesn't surprise me at all, but go right ahead and tell me why.
But basically, I mean, Hong Kong was a British colony,
yes,
which is
it was.
why I was able to go and join the police very easily. But the part of Hong Kong had been leased to Britain by China, and that lease expired in 1997.
That's a long lease, right?
It was a 99-year lease.
Oh, okay.
Expired in 97. And in the late 70s, early 80s, people in Hong Kong started to get very concerned about what was going to happen, because China in those days was not the China it is today. Mm-hmm. And anyway, cut a long story short, Margaret Thatcher, the British Prime Minister, and the Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping agreed that formal negotiations on the future of Hong Kong could take place. They took place between 1982 and 84, and they produced an agreement which, in essence, said that sovereignty of all of Hong Kong would return to China in 1997, and in return, Hong Kong would be given a commitment to it continuing its way of life for 50 years after 1997. China would be the sovereign power and would be responsible for certain constitutional matters, foreign affairs and defence. But apart from that, Hong Kong would have a high degree of autonomy. And part of the deal was that British civil servants could continue to serve in Hong Kong after 1997. Gotcha. And I was one of those who decided to stay on and have continued to enjoy a very interesting career. That Hong Kong's way of life continues for 50 years from 1997. So we continue to use English.
Gotcha.
We have the rule of law. We have our own government, our own civil service, our own police, customs, immigration, tax system. So the rule of law is extremely important. We continue to follow English common law. We continue to have our own legislation. Our commercial legislation is very similar to American commercial law. It's very familiar. We have a very strong intellectual property protection regime.
Definitely, yeah.
Our tax system is wonderful. Companies pay only 16.5% profits tax. Individuals pay a maximum of 15%.
Wow.
We have no sales tax, no GST, no VAT,
Now
no
you've
tax.
answered the question that I have of why it's considered the freest economy.
Yeah. No tax on dividends, no capital gains tax. Whatever other taxes you Americans have, we don't have them. The first and most important thing is to try to engage with businesses and politicians to let them know that Hong Kong exists and that we're open for business. And despite what you might read in one or two national newspapers that suggest things to the contrary, we're alive and kicking and we're doing well. We've got a healthy economy, very low unemployment, steady GDP growth, low inflation, and we're very welcoming to business. Listeners, to get in touch with us is to go onto Facebook and find our Facebook page, which is Hong Kong Meets America. This is the best government Facebook page in the world because it doesn't look like a government Facebook page.
It's got your big picture on it?
It has more than one picture of me, unfortunately, but we try to minimize that. It's got lots of information about the activities and events that we get involved with. There's plenty of other Hong Kong-related activities with the Hong Kong Trade Development Council, Invest Hong Kong, Hong Kong Tourism Board, Hong Kong Monetary Authority. We're all out in this part of the world doing our thing, and we work very closely together. Lots of social activities as well, if you want to see dragon boat races, which we sponsor. And one of the world's best dragon boat festivals takes place here in Atlanta.
Wow.
And it will be on September the 10th.
Is that at Lake Lanier? Or?
That's the place.
Awesome.
Everybody's welcome. It's a great Saturday out for the family.